Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, and you're listening to the Smacked Raw podcast.
I'm like, okay, well, has this always been a thing? Where have I been?
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to the Smacked Raw podcast, Monday Night Raw recap. I am your host, Kyle Tyson. I am going in solo today, man. I hope you guys are having a great start to your day. We normally recap the show following following Raw. We would have recapped it, typically like 30 minutes afterwards, but I don't know. I think the last 2 weeks of heavy wrestling scene caught up to me before I knew it. I had fallen asleep, so my apologies there. But I am here this morning to recap your show. Since I am going solo, however, I'm going to do things in a little bit different format. We normally like to run down the show in chronological order, beat by beat. It's easier for multiple hosts to bounce off each other for that. Since I am by myself, I'm going to try a different structure. I'm going to run down essentially what I thought was good in the show and what I did not like in the show. So it won't be in chronological order, and spoiler alert, there is actually a lot I did not like. Before we get to that though, I am live, if any of you are awake, over on twitch.tv/thestandingstreamer. You can catch me there, most of the time, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then, of course, on the off days, you got Putting You Over, which is a great show. You guys should check it out, man. Subscribe to the channel so you're notified every time that we do go live. But if you ever miss an episode, you can catch me on youtube.com/Smacked Raw Podcast, and essentially everywhere else podcast can be found. We just got the show. I applied the show for a bunch of new platforms. So it looks like here soon we're going to be found on, let me see here. We've got Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Pandora. I thought we were already on Pandora, but apparently we were not. We'll be over there soon. TuneIn/Alexa, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, and Deezer. A couple new platforms I looked up. Get us over on there as well. So yeah, very exciting things over here at the show. Expanding where you can listen to us at. Lastly, of course, you guys know the deal by now. Please support us at patreon.com/the Smacked Raw podcast. We have the start of the new month. The payments are being collected, which means for all of our patrons that signed up last month, we will be sending you your stickers, your t-shirts, everything here in the upcoming week. Just keep an eye out for your DMs so I can get your shipping information, find out exactly what shirt you want, because the shirts do come in different color combinations. I let you guys actually pick that out. So that's something unique that we're trying to offer, plus a couple other things that we offer over there. For unpopular wrestling opinions, you guys can do a video call, or a video submission rather, of yourself listing off your own hot takes on popular opinions. Have that on the show. I think that's really exciting. And then lastly, if you are a creator like us, upstarting, young in your journey like we are, we'll shout you out. We'll go ahead and plug your stuff for the whole month, man. So go ahead, use our platform to help push your platform, vice versa. I think it helps everybody out, because one thing I always heard was there's no such thing as a self-made man. We all grow in a community, I guess, helping each other out. So help us out. Head over to patreon.com/Smacked Raw podcast. Yeah, man. Let's get into the show. So we'll start off with the good. What I found good in the show, and that is the main event scene. We did kick off the night. Randy Orton. We hear that we're gonna have a triple threat match. We're going to have a series of matches throughout the evening. It's going to result in a triple threat main event. And in that triple threat main event, the winner will be the next opponent at Night of Champions for Drew McIntyre's World Championship match. Everything about this was good, man. From the matchups to the storytelling, all of it, in my opinion. It started off, the first match of the night was Keith Lee taking on Dolph Ziggler. Keith Lee wins with another Spirit Bomb to advance in the main event. During the match, Keith Lee was able to survive being jumped before the match even began. He did survive a Famouser and Zigzag in essentially a grueling match. If I had a minor gripe, I don't think Keith Lee, after steamrolling Randy Orton, should be struggling against Dolph. Minor gripe, though. He did show that even Dolph's best isn't going to be enough to take him out, so I guess there's something good to come from that. Later in the evening, Randy Orton defeated Kevin Owens with an RKO. Orton was seen earlier in the night hanging out in Aleister Black's dressing room, who obviously the week prior had given Kevin Owens a black mass, and so Randy Orton obviously was in cahoots. Before the match began, Aleister Black comes out, attacks Kevin Owens. Don't even know why they started the match. Kevin Owens could barely stand up, but of course it comes up to the wrestler's discretion, not the referee. And the referee rings the bell. Kevin Owens throws a couple punches. It's to no avail. Randy Orton RKOs him and then picks up the victory. He moves on to the triple threat main event. And then finally, out of the 3 series of matches, my favorite of the night was Seth Rollins taking on Dominik Mysterio. Dominik stepping in for his dad, Rey Mysterio, who apparently suffered a torn tricep during the match at Payback. So Dominik gets a chance, another stab at Seth Rollins. This has been my favorite match of the 3 that we've seen. Very fun, back and forth. Ultimately, though, Dominik is not enough to take on Seth Rollins, although some very, very near falls and a couple that may have actually fooled you. Seth Rollins wins by stomping out Dominik, and then after the match, even delivers a second stomp while the Mysterio family watches on backstage, including Rey Mysterio's daughter. If there's one thing I got for this, is that I'm kind of over seeing the whole family there for Dominik. We get it. He's got the support of his family, like any other young person would have support from their family. I don't know if I need to see Dominik's mother and sister on screen. I don't know what they're adding to the product, unless later on they're going to get involved in an angle where they are actually physically attacked, or maybe make the save during a match. And even then, I'm not sure I want to see that. I kind of want to see Dominik stand on his 2 feet, his own 2 feet. Maybe this whole injury angle is to get him away from Rey, or maybe is to set up a turn on Rey. Who knows? But either way, it was a nice visual to begin with, but like the theme of a couple things I'm going to complain about, overplayed. It's played out. I'm kind of over it. And that's really going to be it for the good. Of course, later on in the evening, that set up the triple threat match. Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Keith Lee, in the triple threat match. It does start out with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins trying to take on Keith Lee. Keith Lee gets a lot of good spots in there to stop their offense. He even does an over the rope or springboard crossbody over the top rope. That was nice. Ultimately, though, Keith Lee looks like he's going to come away with the victory, hitting the Spirit Bomb on Seth Rollins. Randy Orton, of course, picks his spot, hits an RKO on Keith Lee, does not pin Keith Lee, but pins Seth Rollins, which was a very, very nice touch. I liked it, and I think this is the right call, too. I think it's the right call. Randy Orton's having a hell of a year. One loss should not take him out of this title picture. Obviously, Drew McIntyre has a lot to avenge for those 3 punt kicks he received last week. And this also doesn't hurt Keith Lee. He didn't need a pin. And in fact, Keith Lee is the reason why Randy Orton won with all the offense he was able to put off. So I think this benefited everyone around, except maybe Mr. Greater Good.
What about the greater good?
Seth Rollins, not sure exactly. I think Seth Rollins just goes back to this whole angle with him and Buddy maybe breaking up. Maybe... Let's see. Maybe I don't know. The stuff with Rey and Dominik, I guess, has got to keep going forward. We got to see it play out, see where that goes. But either way, I think everything involving the series of the 3 matches the triple threat at the end of the night. I think that was all terrific. I think it was good storytelling. I think we had the right finish, the right endings. I'm here for all of it. And from there, I'm not going to lie, everything else was bad. Everything. Some not so bad, and some really bad. I'm going to start off with just like the fucking worst thing. The worst thing that happened tonight is splitting up the Iconics. The Iconics are done. They're done. They're broken up. And they've already turned on each other. It's completely these two people is probably the most legitimate female tag team in all of WWE, and for whatever reason, you decide to split them up. You decide to break them up. So the breakup comes from this. We have a rematch from the kickoff show. The Riot Squad taking on the Iconics. The winner of the match receives a tag team championship shot against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. But the caveat is the losing team has to disband for whatever reason. When is breaking up a tag team or a faction a viable when is it necessary? Why break it up? You know, I don't understand. The women's tag team division, for one, needs more tag teams. Two, they're the inaugural. Well, no, they're not the inaugural tag team champions, but they did have a win at WrestleMania. I don't get this, and yeah. So the match was straightforward too. Honestly, I think I actually preferred the match at Payback more than the match here. Like the match itself was just a serviceable match. You did have a series of roll-up attempts between Billie Kay and I want to say Ruby Riott. Ultimately, though, through the series of roll-ups, Billie Kay is the one who's pinned. And then you get this long, drawn-out moment of the Iconics crying in the ring because you have essentially over a decade of tag teaming going down the drain while commentary buries the piss out of it because apparently they're heels, you know, so we're not supposed to feel anything for them, you know, and that doesn't make fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense, man. You literally turned the tag team babyface through breaking them up, and then you still take the piss out of them. Like none of this even made sense. And this even bleeds over into Raw Underground later in the night when you have Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir taking on nobodies, right? And the Iconics, for whatever reason, are seen ringside enjoying the show. And then Marina Shafir, Jessamyn Duke, after wiping out a couple people, tease a fight with the Iconics. And for whatever reason, Peyton Royce throws Billie Kay in the ring to solidify, not only are we broken up, I just turned heel on you. And Billie Kay, of course, gets destroyed. A single kick in the head knocks her out cold. And now it looks official. Peyton Royce, like the rumor stated, is going solo. Billie Kay, at best, is going to be a comedy wrestler. She's not going to do anything impactful, I believe, in the women's division, if that's the case. My early speculations is she's just going to be a slight above, like notch above, maybe Natalya and Lana. Which, no offense to them, but where the pecking order lies in the women's division, they don't really swing much weight. So, unfortunately, Billie Kay, one of WWE's best talents, is going to go to waste because, for whatever reason, you had to split the Iconics up with no major payoff. There was no long built-out feud, no teasing dissension between them. Just, welcome to Monday Night Raw, Iconics are broken up. This was a terrible fucking decision. But it is what it is. We'll have to see where it goes. And then speaking of Raw Underground, everything, man, I really flipped a 180 last night. I don't know if I was in a bad mood, what it was, but going back to the Rey Mysterio stuff, it's played out. It's played out. You're getting nothing now but 10, 20-second squash matches, or not even necessarily squash matches, just segments of them fighting, and it's cool, but you gotta evolve. You've had this out now for about a month, and none of the segments stand above the others. Everything has played out the exact same, and so now Raw Underground has not benefited anybody yet, other than maybe Riddick Moss, and a couple other guys who are standing out on Raw Underground. But once again, where's it going? It just feels like WWE spinning their wheels with this. No real direction, which I guess in hindsight kind of makes sense. But going back to it, yeah, Riddick Moss defeats Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil is built up all night like he's going to be some monster. He destroys like two guys. One of them that I thought was Riddick Moss. He looked awfully like him, except he was just a little bit smaller apparently. But yeah, between then, Riddick Moss comes in. He kicks Titus O'Neil in the dick. I'm always a fan of a good dick kick. I ain't going to lie to you. But still, nonetheless, Riddick Moss knocks him out. Quick victory. Later on in the night, like I said, you got Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir taking on a couple nobodies. Jessamine Duke's got some good strikes, though. I will say that, man. They highlighted her strikes. They were talking about them all night. The only thing is, they don't really carry much weight. We've never really been given anything to look at them any more than Shayna Baszler's henchmen, or the last two members of the MMA Horsewomen. So I don't know what we're supposed to get from this. We're obviously not going to get a feud between them and the Iconics because the Iconics are broken up and Peyton Royce is now heel. It's fucking weird, man. Yeah, and then lastly, the final segment of the night was Shelton Benjamin taking on Apollo Crews. Earlier in the night, you had Cedric Alexander taken out by the Hurt Business. Obviously wants some revenge. You get this one-on-one match between Benjamin and Crews. Benjamin working double duty for the night, though. It's probably because I assume this was pre-taped. So they had to mix like the live stuff with the pre-tape. Ultimately, though, the brawl spills outside. The Hurt Business get involved, and they end up choking out all three members, Apollo Crews, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander. On one hand, I'm cool with the Hurt Business looking strong. On the other hand, I don't know how good it's doing them just beating up the same people every week. The comeuppance that Ricochet, Cedric, and Apollo Crews get is so few and far between. They just feel like fluke victories, but ultimately they've just been the losers in this feud this entire time. And I think this is the final nail. I don't know how I could get interested again seeing these three guys take on the other three guys. I don't really see where that's going. I've been saying for Cedric to turn and Apollo to turn, but after the amount of ass whoopings they've taken, at this point it doesn't even make sense for them. For one of them to join up at this point. It would be a weird story. I mean, maybe you could have one of them just be like, man, I'm tired of getting my ass kicked, so I'm going to join the money where the money is. I'm going to try and evolve my game. Maybe that, but even then it's still a hard sell. But yeah, overall, Raw Underground, feeling like the same stuff. And I'm a big proponent for Raw Underground. I really like the MMA style that they're bringing. I think they've done it better than a lot of other pro wrestling angles try to incorporate MMA into their style. But at this point, it's wearing thin. We got to see stuff evolve. We have to see meaningful matchups, meaningful matches. We have to know where we're going with this. Because otherwise it's going to turn into the piss break of the evening. It is. But that's just my take on it. Where are we at here? Shit, I lost my place in my notes. Oh, there we go. Last up, or not last up, but the women's division is looking pretty thin right now. I am happy to see Mickie James out here. So it comes out. Asuka's being interviewed. Who's next? Does anybody deserve a title shot for Asuka's Raw Women's Championship? Mickie James answers the call. I'm excited for that matchup. The only thing, like I said, coming back to why I just think this is bad is the previous booking of Mickie James. They trashed her re-debut. Obviously focusing on the Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe angle, while her match took place in the background and she lost via countout. And even during this, playing second fiddle because out comes Natalya and Lana, and essentially they want a shot at the title too. They end up attacking Mickie James and Asuka. Yeah, you do get a singles match between Mickie James and Lana. Mickey picks up the victory because Lana's probably the worst female on the WWE roster as far as, kayfabe power rankings go. So Mickey James picks up that victory, and we might see a title picture with her and Asuka. But even then, it doesn't feel viable, man. This comes back to the classic. You spent too long building up the horsewomen, and now there's not really many people outside of the horsewomen that seem like title contenders, other than maybe Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, but they're now wrapped up in the tag team division. So I can't think of who Raw would have that actually seems threatening to Asuka's title reign. I was actually anticipating, because of this, while Asuka was talking on the mic, maybe an NXT call-up or something to shock us, because I could not for the life of me think of who is either deserving of a title shot or even threatening to her title reign. And that's kind of why I felt like this falls flat, is because as much as I like Mickey James, the way they've built her the last couple weeks, it just doesn't feel right or impactful. And then finally, the last segment of the night that I'm going to shit on, Street Profits taking on Andrade and Angel Garza. Once again, just coming down to a couple things. The whole thing is played out. We're getting this stuff way too much repetition. I believe Sean Ross Sapp pointed out on Twitter that there was a ton of matchups that's taken place recently, that like 3, 4, 5, 6+ times over the last 4 to 6 weeks. We've just been getting nothing but these rehashed matchups. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick. You spell Sean Ross Sapp. Is it S-E-A-N? Yeah, it's S-E-A-N. I haven't seen a Sean like S-H-A-W-N since the 90s. Who was the last Sean spelled like that? Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World. Yeah, that was the last Sean spelled like that. Oh, shoot. Damn, Sean Ross Sapp tweets a lot. Okay, I think I found it right here. So Owens versus Orton was the second time in August. Shelton Benjamin versus Apollo is the third time in August, and the 5th time since June. And match featuring Dominik taking on Rollins is the 4th time in 8 days. 4th? I can only recall 3. You had... Am I missing one? You had SummerSlam, Payback, and Tonight. I don't know where the 4th one is. And then, of course, Iconics and Riot Squad has happened 4 times in August as well, along with the 3rd time Street Profits have faced Angel and Andrade in a match since July 30th. Plus 5 singles matches. So yeah, going back to the stuff is just played out. So it's hard to get hype about it. It's part of my gripe about the tag division. Not that I don't think that Street Profits are viable champions, but it's like they haven't built them as champions. You don't really build somebody as champions if you just stick them in an ongoing feud and you never introduce new components to it, new competitors. It just feels like a feud, and the championship titles are a prop. So it doesn't really make much sense to me. I was half out of it, which I'm anticipating they kind of, which I believe they anticipated, because we finally got Retribution back, which, by the way, tonight, probably Retribution's least memorable stick. During the match, the lights start flickering. Angel Garza just takes off. He wastes no time. Retribution come out. They surround Montez Ford, Andrade, Dawkins, and Zelina Vega. They beat all 4 of them down and then just run off. No statement, no tearing up the ring, no anarchy. Just come out, beat those guys down. Backstage, you find Garza with the Bachelorette star Demi Burnett, which, by the way, I saw something on Twitter. I hate to agree with it just because I'm a huge fan of AEW, but Demi Barnett is getting more airtime than the AEW's women division at this point, and nobody knows why. But yeah, Garza is trying to escape the arena with her confronted with Retribution. Garza takes off once again, leaves Demi behind. She ultimately escapes too. But that was it, man. That was it. So going back to it, Raw, it was not the best show, but I will say Raw has a great main event scene. Keith Lee is a perfect fit to spice up the matchups. Randy Orton continues to kill it. He doesn't seem to be hurt by his loss at Payback. Dominik looks primed to get a good push. He keeps developing in the ring. Seth Rollins, of course, is still a strong force in the main event scene. But yeah, so that stuff's good. But unfortunately, everything else feels like filler. From Raw Underground, from the men's tag division, from the women's division, all of it feels like filler. None of it feels like there's any more stakes. It feels like they're spinning their wheels and almost waiting for something to happen. The only thing of interest that I find myself now into is the women's tag division with Shayna and Nia Jax, but that's more or less just me into their dynamic with each other. I think they're very entertaining. The way that their characters are going to play off of each other. Even their first matchup, now going to be Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. They're going to feel like an afterthought to just going back to the dynamic of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So, like I said, Raw right now, to me, last night was a very poor showing and doesn't really strike much inspiration for next week. They definitely didn't leave me excited to tune into next week's Raw. That is for sure. We'll have to wait and see where it goes, though. That's my recap of Monday Night Raw. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. Please, if you like this show, hit like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Download our podcast, and of course, visit that Patreon. But like always, you guys, until next time, y'all have a good one.